Nothing you meet is random. It's all connected. What if your thoughts weren't yours? Not entirely. What if beneath your everyday mind lives something ancient, not just yours, but shared by all? In 1875, a boy was born who would one day ask this exact question and never stop chasing the answer. His name was Carl Gustav Jung. He didn't just study the mind, he walked into its deepest chambers, not with fear, but with reverence, not to dominate, but to listen. Jung believed that deep beneath our waking thoughts, beneath even our personal memories, exists a hidden realm, a vast psychic ocean shaped not by you, but by centuries of human experience. He called it the collective unconscious. And inside this invisible layer are symbols, patterns, forces. They rise in dreams. They whisper through myths. And sometimes they guide you, even when you think you're choosing for yourself. These aren't fantasies, they're archetypes, living blueprints of human emotion and fate. A mother, a shadow, a hero, a serpent. They aren't just in stories, they are in you. You didn't invent your struggles, they were already written long before you arrived. But Jung believed, if you dare to look inside, if you bring the unconscious to light, you don't just survive the inner world, you awaken to it. He wasn't a prophet, he was a mirror. And now, you're standing in front of it. What if you've never truly met yourself? Not the face in the mirror, not the version you've learned to perform, but the whole of you, the light and the shadow, the wounded and the wise. Carl Jung believed the journey of a human life isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to the forgotten, unseen parts of who you already are. He called it individuation, not a destination but a descent, a spiral inward. It begins the moment you stop asking, what do they want from me? And instead, what is hidden in me? The unconscious doesn't speak in words. It speaks in dreams, slips of the tongue, strange longings. It pulls you toward patterns you don't understand, again and again and again, until you finally ask, why do I always end up here? That's when the door opens. And once it does, you cannot go back. You start to notice your masks. You begin to hear the voice you silenced long ago. You see that the pain you carry was never the enemy. It was the guide. Individuation is not perfection. It is integration. It is the sacred work of gathering all your pieces, even the ones you were taught to hate. Because you cannot become whole by chasing the light alone. You become whole by learning how to hold the dark without letting it own you. And maybe that's what you came here for. What if your worst habit isn't just a mistake? What if it's a map, a coded message from the part of you that remembers everything, even what you forgot? Carl Jung didn't believe in random behavior. He saw patterns, the quiet choreography of the unconscious. And he warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. That heartbreak you always return to. That job you almost take and always leave. That ache, familiar, yet unnamed, sitting quietly beneath every success. They are not accidents. They are echoes. And you are walking in circles that were drawn long before your first step. But here's the secret Jung whispered through his work. You can break the pattern. Not by force, not by denial, but by seeing it, truly seeing, without shame, without fear. It starts when you stop blaming luck. When you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And instead ask, what inside me keeps calling it back? that moment of recognition, that's not weakness, that's power. Because once the pattern becomes visible, it begins to loosen. You are not cursed, you are coded, but you are also the one who can rewrite the code. And maybe the pain didn't return to haunt you. Maybe it returned to awaken you. What if every time you seek control, you're really hiding from love? Not love as romance, but love as surrender, as trust, as the terrifying act of letting something real move through you. Carl Jung saw something few dared to name, that wherever the hunger for power grows, love begins to vanish. And wherever true love takes root, the need to dominate dissolves. He called this the ancient split, a war within every soul. You feel it, don't you? That tension in your chest when you're vulnerable, that instinct to harden, to defend, to win. But beneath that armor is a child, still aching to be held without needing to perform. And yet, we grow into roles, we polish our image, we weaponize intellect, because softness was once punished or misunderstood. So we wear masks of certainty, we lead with sharpness. But deep down, you still crave something gentler. You always have. Jung believed wholeness doesn't come from choosing love over power, but from understanding where each lives inside you and learning who's been in control for too long. When power rules, we bend the world to fit our fear. When love returns, we let the world reshape us, not by force, but by presence. So ask yourself, is your strength a wall or a bridge? And what might happen, Sol, if you finally stepped across? What if your deepest wound isn't trying to break you, but to speak to you? Not in words, but through silence. Through the heaviness in your chest when no one is looking. Through the way you flinch at kindness. Carl Jung saw pain not as an enemy, but as a symbol. He believed that what we refuse to feel, what we bury, becomes the architect of our fate. Your unspoken grief, your unanswered fears, your childhood need that never got named. They don't disappear. They go underground. And from there, they shape the world you live in. This is not your fault, but it is your mirror. And sometimes you meet someone who triggers something in you, a feeling too big for the moment. It's not about them, it's your past, asking to be seen. Jung called this the return of the shadow, the forgotten part of the self that longs to come home. You've run from it, all of us do, but what if, just once, you turned around and faced it? It may not roar, it may whisper. And if you truly listen, you may hear the one thing you've waited your whole life to hear. You were never broken, you were carrying something that wasn't yours to hold. And now you're allowed to set it down. What if the part of you that still hurts is a child waiting to be seen? Not the child you show in pictures, but the one that hid behind silence. The one who learned early. I must not need too much. I must not feel too deeply. Carl Jung knew the adult is just the surface, beneath your logic, beneath your ambitions, beneath every "I'm fine." There is a small voice still waiting to be heard. And it speaks in strange ways, in overreactions, in self-sabotage, in the way you shrink when praised, or vanish when loved. Jung believed this isn't immaturity, it's memory, a psychic echo of moments too big for your body at the time, moments that didn't get to complete their meaning, so they replay. Again and again. Not to punish you, but to be seen through you. Healing doesn't come from fixing the child, it comes from letting them know they're no longer alone. You become the adult you once needed. You speak the words no one else said. And slowly you realize you were never too much. You were carrying too much for too long, with no one to help you hold it. But now you are here, and maybe for the first time, so is the child inside you. What if everything you show to the world is just a mask, not the real you, but a carefully crafted story, a performance shaped by fear, by expectation, by the silent demand to belong? Carl Jung saw the mask, the persona, as both protector and prison. It's the face you show when you say, "I'm okay," when inside you're crumbling. You might think this mask keeps you safe, but Jung knew it hides a truth far more dangerous, the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. And that gap is where your real suffering lives. When you live behind the mask, you forget your shadow, the parts of yourself you reject, the anger, the sorrow, the desires no one taught you to admit. But these shadows don't disappear. They whisper. They haunt. They shape your dreams and fears. Until one day, you're forced to face them or be ruled by them. So ask yourself, is your mask a shield or a cage? And what would happen if you took it off, even for a moment, and looked in the mirror with honest eyes? Because the moment you see yourself without the mask, you begin the journey toward freedom, toward wholeness. And maybe that is the bravest act of all. What if knowing your deepest truths makes you feel utterly alone, not because the world rejects you, but because the parts of yourself you see no one else dares to face? Carl Jung understood this solitude well. He called it the burden of the initiated, those who peel back the layers and glimpse the hidden patterns beneath the surface. You walk among crowds, but inside there's a silence, a space between you and others that feels impossible to cross. Because when you face your shadow, you learn things others hide from, truths about fear, about pain, about the delicate dance between light and dark. And this knowledge doesn't come with a manual. No one teaches you how to carry it. You might try to share your insights, but find only confusion or distance. You become the outsider, the quiet observer, the one who understands but rarely belongs. But Jung whispered a secret. This loneliness is a doorway, not a prison. Through it, you find a deeper connection, not with the many, but with the whole of your being and the ancient rhythms that run beneath the world. So when you feel isolated by what you know, remember, you're walking the path of the seer. And sometimes seers must walk alone before their vision becomes light for others. What if the person you've been searching for was never someone else? What if, in the quiet unraveling of your soul, you meet not a stranger but yourself, broken, whole, lost, and found all at once? The great journey Carl Jung mapped leads here, to the moment when the mask falls away, when the shadows no longer hide and the light no longer blinds. But in this moment there is no simple salvation, no clear answer, only the raw, trembling edge of awareness. And here the story shifts, because now it's not him or her anymore, it's you. The question hangs heavy like a breath held in the dark. What will you do when the mirror shows not who you want to see, but who you truly are? Will you embrace the fracture, or will you shatter completely? No one can answer this for you. Only this remains. Between the silence and the storm, you stand, a question waiting to be lived. If this stirred something within you, maybe it wasn't just a coincidence. The journey inward begins in silence. Follow the signs, stay aware, and remember, the self is always watching.